The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.
New data is coming in at this point from the CEC, and we know that the PM Irakli Kobakhidze has already summarized the results. We are on this new information and will sum up for you during live program a little bit later. Before that, let me remind you that the preliminary results released by the Central Election Commission on October 26 put the Georgian Dream Party in the lead at 52.9% against a combined total of 38.4% received by opposition parties that crossed the 5% electoral threshold. The full preliminary results based on 2,206 precincts, which was 97% of the precincts that voted electronically, 90% of all precincts, showed the Georgian Dream as a winner, while all major opposition coalitions that had signed the president's Georgian charter passed the threshold. Preliminary results showed their combined total below 40%. The Coalition for Change, which unites Ahali Girchi, More Freedom and Drua parties, was the strongest among the opposition with 11.2%, with the Unity to Save Georgia alliance led by the United National Movement, the former ruling party, finishing with 9.8%. Next came the Strong Georgia coalition led by Lelo for Georgia with 9.2%, and For Georgia led by ex-Prime Minister Giorgi Gakharia with 8.2% of the vote. None of the other parties crossed the threshold at the time. The chairman of the CEC presented these preliminary results yesterday in the last summary briefing of the day. According to Georgi Kalandarishvili, the wide-scale use of electronic technologies made it possible to get to know the preliminary primary results within an hour and 45 minutes after the end of the voting. According to his assessment, the elections took place in a peaceful and free environment. These results are changing, and our reporter Georgi Aronia will give us a more updated picture soon. The thing is that 394,547 Georgians, 11.2% of all registered voters, were eligible to vote in the traditional non-electronic procedure. This including 95,910 voters registered abroad, while the rest were registered in remote, mountainous or smaller precincts where it was inconvenient to install new technology. This means that more than 10% of voters were eligible to cast ballots in traditional voting abroad and in Georgia's remote and mountainous regions. Final official results are expected to be available today. They were available today, actually, after all ballots, both in electronic and non-electronic precincts, have been counted by hand. We have some updates from the New York polling. Head of our U.S. Bureau, Tamuna Kemertadze, worked for the checkpoints from New York. Let us hear some voices of those who had to stand in long lines to use their right and cast votes.
First and foremost, I think that in any country, doesn't matter you're Georgian or you are citizen of Italy, whatever, the election day and your vote as a citizen is the most important thing the right that you have from the Constitution. So obviously coming to election day and showing your support to whatever party or person you support is the most important thing that you can do as a citizen of the country. Most importantly for this election, I think it's one of the crossovers in Georgian history. So I really think that it's very, very important that every citizen voted today and that we have this free path to wherever Georgia wants to go and whatever is best for Georgia's development. For today, I was very emotional. I came with my 2 children, so I had tears on my eyes seeing all this crowd and thousands of people coming here. But then I was shocked, and I'm still shocked. I was literally shaking when I left the consulate, how unorganized and how everything was little mess. Because I didn't even know my registration number. So to find out my number, the only way was to see on the consulate website, but the website was not working. The system was just shut. So I was astonished finding out there. And then they just let me in because I was with the kids. So fortunately, I was in the right building, right floor, and I found my number on a wall and I voted. But probably there are like tons of citizens like me coming here, not knowing their registration number, and nobody's here organizing the crowd, supporting people, helping them to get around. So only this, for me, is a big violation as a right of a citizen who comes here to vote, and you don't provide any kind of support in order for citizens to vote.
For me as a Georgian citizen, these elections mean my country's ability to separate itself from Russia at last and go toward a more progressive and accepting environment, because I am a dual citizen of Russia and of Georgia. I have lived in Russia a lot of years of my life. I know what it's like there. I don't like it there very much. And I don't like my country that was forcibly occupied by Russia being essentially bought into back into the Soviet Union by a billionaire who was working for his own gains. And because in my own country, the ruling party is so blatantly cheating and undermining our democracy, that my hope is here, under the supervision of the world's biggest democracy at least, my vote can properly be counted to the future I want. So I've been in this line for 3 hours now. It was moving very quickly at the start. Now it's hit a bit of a roadblock, and I intend to stay until the end. But I've heard the consulate has decided to remain open past the initial expected 8 p.m. deadline, and I intend to make use of that. I am fairly skeptical about our ruling party's ability to accept a fair democracy and fair election. So my hope is that it's so obvious to everyone who's seeing these recordings, who's seeing all the people posting on Facebook, how many people in their country, in other countries, are voting very clearly not for the Russian party, essentially. And that if they refuse to acknowledge that clearly they're not winning by a landslide as they're claiming, that we can call them out, we can show them everything, and we can, if need be, take things into a less peaceful hands.
Yeah, I'm standing here also this morning. Left home at 7 a.m. So yeah, 30,000 Georgians are standing here on 44th Street with the hope to change something in our country. So I don't know what are the numbers and answers now from Georgia, but we hope for the best, for changes first of all. And change is always good. Yeah, like Georgian people, since last century, we choose the West. So we have nobilities fighting against Soviet Union, and actually exactly the same is happening right now. Nothing really changed. So that's our hope. Yeah, we are Europeans, so we would like to be part of it. And with this government, that will be impossible.
Tamna Kemertelidze gathered these voices for you. Meanwhile, in Georgia, all the major opposition parties have responded to the preliminary results so far. Opposition coalitions, Unity UNM and the Coalition for Change leaders have announced in separate briefings that they are not recognizing the official preliminary results announced by the Central Election Commission yesterday. Representatives of both parties say these are the stolen elections. The parties are indicating several ways to allegedly rig the elections, such as manipulation of the verification system assisted by the registrators who were exclusively GD members, tampering with the marking, multiple electronic voting by the same people in different precincts for which the GD used the personal information that it had collected by taking the IDs of the voters before the elections. Coalition Strong Georgia, Dzilieri Sakartvelo, stated the results did not reflect the will of the Georgian people against the backdrop of elections conducting with nationwide intimidation and bribery. The announced figures contradict the historical and present-day choice of the Georgian people. This is Strong Georgia's position at this point. Gacharia for Georgia also responded to the preliminary results in a briefing on alleged widespread violations on election day. Gacharia for Georgia highlighted several several violations that they say impacted the official preliminary results, including vote buying, the acceptance of spoiled ballots in favor of Georgian Dream, the distribution of pre-marked ballots, and incidents of voters costing multiple ballots. The official position of the party is to wait for the final results, and at the same time it plans to share detailed evidence of violations with local and international partners. My Vote, a local observer mission uniting dozens of Georgian civil society organizations, said it identified a large scheme to rig the 2024 parliamentary elections and will demand the annulment of the official results. According to My Vote, as of 10 to 11 p.m., the mission's observers identified 347 violations of the marking process, 89 reports of violations of the secrecy of the vote, 341 cases of unauthorized persons in the polling station, and 96 cases of physical violence, threats, and confrontations, as well as 163 cases of obstruction of My Vote observers. JILA observers have recorded about 300 cases of bad practices in total for this stage. Of these, 44 violations were described on the perimeter of the election precinct. 51 notes were recorded in the record book, 37 were written in the precinct election commission, and 21 complaints were made against the name of the district election commission. According to the report, JILA observed several cases of physical confrontations and disputes, which contain signs of a number of crimes under the criminal code, including possibly obstruction of the will in elections. JILA is monitoring the parliamentary elections of October 26, 2024 in 55 municipalities, 64 electoral districts at 15 foreign countries through 650 observers. The JILA election mission covers more than 1,500 polling stations, which is about half of the total polling stations. JILA is represented by both static and mobile observers at the polling station. They monitor the election process from the moment the precincts are opened and will remain in the precincts until the summary protocols of the voting results are drawn up. Also, observers of 30 districts of JILA in the respective districts will observe the procedures of receiving documents from different districts in the districts throughout the night. In addition, the JILA mission will study the summary protocols of all the districts, which include both the districts in the territory of Georgia and those outside its borders. This is the picture that we have so far coming from yesterday, the voting day. We'll update you by the end of the program with the updated information that we'll get from CEC and other parties.
The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.